Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Shelby of Shelby in the Book Club and of Shelby in the Bookstore. And in today's video, we're going to talk all things February reading. And also, happy Black History Month. I'm super excited about Black History Month. Every year, since I've started my book journey again, I've decided that Black History Month is going to be dedicated to Black authors because that is my purpose. I want to introduce you guys to as many Black authors. I want to diversify your reading as much as I can. So if you would like to see my very, very, very ambitious Black History Month TBR, then here you go. All right, we got a lot of things to talk about here. So grab you some tea or some water or whatever your drink of preference is, and probably some snacks because we got a long list to go through here. I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books that I will be picking from to read in the month of February. What I want to preface this with before I start is that a TBR is just a bunch of books that I want to read, right? I may not get to all 10 of them. My goal is to get to all 10 of them, but life happens, right? We have to anticipate, or we can't necessarily anticipate what life is going to throw at us. So sometimes all 10 of these books don't get done, but I do try to plan in a way that does make sense. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys before we get into the list of books is I got another reading journal. I have to look and see. Oh, it's so funny. It matches my sweater. That wasn't on purpose. I have to see exactly where I got this from because I don't remember. I think this was definitely a late night depression, shopping, insomnia, shopping, can't sleep sort of situation. Oh no, never mind. It says it on the back here. One Canoe. Can y'all see that down there? One Canoe. .com. I'll put the information in the underneath a bar. But I'm gonna start using this in the month of February alongside my other ones. This one did not come in time for my reading tracking video that I did. So I have it, but I'll start using this in February this month. So these books will be in that reading. And then in a couple of months, I plan to do a wrap-up video on this, which I think I said previously. So that's that. 2, I'm not using the Bookly app for the foreseeable future. It's giving me anxiety. And I couldn't figure out in the beginning half of January why I was having such a hard time reading, right? I'm like, okay, I have my app. I have to log a certain amount of time, blah, blah, blah. It was giving me anxiety. So I'm not using the Bookly app anymore. But I am setting a goal for myself to read a certain amount of pages every day. So that could be an hour. It could be more than an hour. But if you guys remember last year, a few months, I did the calculation of pages divided by the days in the amount of days in the month to get how many pages I should read. So I did that with this list, and I should be reading about 120 pages a day, which is usually what I do, if not in one sitting. Sometimes I'll just, like, if I read for an hour, that's about like 50 to 60 pages. But usually at night, I read for way more than an hour. I read like for 3-ish hours at night before I go to bed on a good night. So that is how I'm tracking that. I am still doing the A to Z challenge. So when we do the February wrap-up video, I will include what books I read and where they rank on the A to Z challenge. So that will be accounted for. And I think that's it. I think we can go into all 10 of these books that I have. So first up, the first 3 books that I'm going to talk about are all books that will have events tied to them. So both the book club picks and then the picks for the Books and Beret read along that I'm doing. I will be hosting alongside Nicole a book discussion on Zoom. Once she sends me the information for that, I will post it somewhere so that you guys can see and you guys can join if you would like. I know a lot of you are actually participating, which is super awesome. I love you guys for that. And I believe my beret will be here soon. Nicole made me one. Nicole is Professor Pearl here on the YouTubes and her social media. I'll post a lovely picture of her right here and her social media information so you guys can follow her if you guys are not. And I'll also put it in the underneath bar as well so that you guys can subscribe to her channel because her stuff is awesome. Her content is awesome. She's super, super nice. She's awesome. So there's that. So first, for the books and berets, we are reading Room and Knit by Kwana Jackson, which I'm super excited to read. It's a story. It's a romance. It involves a yarn store. I know a lot of you have already read this and have raved about it, so I'm super excited to read this and to be a part of the read along so that we can discuss it. Next, we have the Shelby and the book club pick, which is Chronicles from the Land of the Happiest People on Earth by Wool Soyinka. This one, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I have some doubts about picking this as the book club pick. I don't know if people are gonna like it, but we're gonna read it anyway. So it says, in an imaginary Nigeria, a cunning entrepreneur is selling body parts stolen from Dr. Minka's hospital for use in ritualistic practices. Dr. Minka shares the grisly news with his oldest college friend, Yoruba Royal Doyle in Pain. The life of every party, Doyle is about to assume a prestigious post in the United States in New York, but it now seems that someone is determined that he not make it there, and neither Dr. Minka nor Doyle knows why or how close the enemy is or how powerful. Chronicles from the Land of the Happiest People on Earth is at once a literary hoot, a crafty whodunit, and a scathing indictment of political and social corruption. It is a stirring call to arms against the abuse of power from one of our fiercest political activists who also happens to be a global literary giant. So I've heard mixed reviews about the book. There's something about it that I'm just drawn to, and I want to read it as a group. I think it's going to be a good read. And then for the Patreon book club, if you guys did not know, I do have a Patreon account. The link is below if you want to join. It's $10 a month. The Patreon groups gets access to all my content first. And we have monthly Zoom meetings to discuss the book that they voted on. So for the month of February, we are reading Memorial by Brian Washington, which is a story said to be about two men who are in a relationship, one being Japanese American, the other one being Black, and they end up in a situation where Mike ends up, no, not Mike, Benson, excuse me, ends up having to stay with Mike's mother, who is Japanese, and how they maneuver as roommates and how it affects the relationship. What does love mean? All of that thing. I've heard amazing things about this book, and I'm super excited to read it. Next, we have something that I started and I did not finish. But let's talk about why this is on my list for the month of February. So it is Sing Unburied Sing by Jasmine Ward. So I am a part of the Bookish Bingo with Literary Noir Club. I will put the bingo board here. It starts today when you're seeing this, February 1st. And all you have to do is make bingo, right? However, diagonally across, up and down, whatever. And one of the prompts is to read a Jasmine Ward book. If you know that Jasmine Ward is one of my favorite authors. I've read all of her books. I joined Literati because she is one of the book clubs. I adore her writing. It feels so real. I don't know where to begin. But I did not finish this book. And I did not finish it because I did not want to be at the end of my Jasmine Ward books, because I don't often reread books. I feel like I gotta sneeze. Am I gonna sneeze? I don't think so. Okay. I didn't want to be at the end of my Jasmine Ward pile, right? This will make so that I've read all of her books. So because it was a prompt, I wanted this to be something on my list this month, because I just thought it was super important. If you have not read Jasmine Ward, any of her books, I suggest you start with her memoir, The Men We've Reaped. Woo, when I tell you that book whooped my ass, but it was worth it. I don't think we've realized the impact that grief actually has on us. I don't think we've realized the effects or how much it affects us in the Black community. So The Men We Reaped is a good starting place. I honestly have not read a Jasmine Ward book that I did not like. I feel like she is my literary Beyonce. I can say that confidently. She is my literary Beyonce. So there's that. But this is on my list for that prompt. For the bookish bingo, I will be posting on the Instagram page every day. I will be talking about the prompts in the daily vlog as well. If that is something that you guys are interested in, make sure you're following Shelby in the Bookstore on Instagram. And again, I'll post, the bingo board here again if you want to screenshot it, if you didn't get a chance to a couple of minutes ago. So next on the list, we have Don't Cry For Me, a book that was blurbed by Jasmine Ward. This book came out recently. So just so that you guys know, this is my second time recording my February TBR because there are so many books that I wanted to read. Most of these are the same from the first time that I recorded this video, but as I am doing it again, like having to do it again because I left some stuff out, so on and so forth, book shopping has happened. So this book caught my attention because y'all know how I feel about books having Black people on the cover. That is important. I often think of the day that I have my child, because I only plan to have one and I already know her name. But the day that I have my kid, I want my kid to be able to go through my bookshelf and see themselves. Right, that's important. Representation is important. I can probably count on my hands the books that I saw, at least as a little kid, that had me on it. And now that is totally different for the kids coming after me. So that's awesome. But Don't Cry For Me by Daniel Black. I've never read anything by Daniel Black before. But this says, a Black father makes amends with his gay son through letters written on his deathbed in this wise and penetrating novel of empathy and forgiveness. As Jacob lies dying, he begins to write a letter to his only son, Isaac. They have not met or spoken in many years, and there are things that Isaac must know. Stories about his ancestral legacy in rural Arkansas. I say Arkansas, mind your business. That extends back to slavery, secrets from Jacob's tumultuous relationship with Isaac's mother, and the shame he carries from the dissolution of their family. I feel like I didn't say that right. Tragedies that inform Jacob's role as a father and his reaction to Isaac's being gay. But most of all, Jacob must share with Isaac the unspoken truths that reside in his heart. He must give voice to the trauma that Isaac has inherited. He must give voice to the trauma that Isaac has inherited. That's so good it made me choke. He must give voice to the trauma that Isaac has inherited. I wonder when parents realize the trauma that they've inflicted on their children, even if it was unbeknownst to them. I wonder when that happens. And I wonder what that feels like, because it must be hell. The fact, I can't wait to read this book. And he must create a space for the two to find peace. With piercing insight and profound empathy, acclaimed author Daniel Black illuminates the lived experience of Black fathers and queer sons, offering an authentic and ultimately hopeful portrait of reckoning and reconciliation. Spare as it is sweeping, poetic as it is compulsively readable, Don't Cry for Me is a monumental novel about one family grappling with love's hard edges and the unexpected places where hope and healing take flight. I can't wait to read this. Let's see, what does Jasmine Ward's blurb say? Don't Cry for Me is a perfect song. At turns, intense and funny, tender and brutally honest, Jacob's letter to his son Isaac is revelatory. While the story is an unflinching account of a family and a community in the Black American Midwest coming of age in the modern now, it is also full of that which makes us all human. Full of fathers trying to understand sons, sons trying to understand fathers, parents feeling as if they have failed children, children realizing how they have passed their own traumas on to others, and so on. It's a beautiful book. Read it. I can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait. I can't wait. No, can't wait. I can't wait. Okay, so that's that, because I would have started reading it right here, right now, and said forget y'all. So next is Yonder. Yonder also has something to do with Bookish Bingo, because this is one of the books that you can win. But if you go over to the Instagram page, you can see what all is included in that. So there's that. Yonder. This is another book that I read the blurb. There was a blurb that said, the water dancer meets the prophets in this spare, gripping, and extraordinarily rendered novel exploring love and friendship amongst a group of enslaved Black strivers in the mid-19th century. I like books about slavery. Okay, everybody calm down. I don't know how to explain it, because I feel like I shouldn't, and I feel like I should have some sort of shame about reading books about slavery, but for some reason I enjoy it. And not that I enjoy reading about my people's pain, but I think the way that they're written today is a lot different than they were written previously. And I feel like a lot of them aren't necessarily trauma porn, but it is my type of historical fiction. And I think the reason that I like reading about it is because it's about people that were me. Things that I can, not that I can relate to slavery. Do y'all understand what I'm trying to say? Not that I can relate to slavery, but it's my people. They're mine. They're my ancestors. I come from them. They are mine. So it's what made me realize I like historical fiction. It's also the only way that I can read about slavery. I cannot read nonfiction about slavery. I cannot do it. It hurts. It's something about knowing that these characters are based on real people and not actually real people that makes this more tangible for me. So I think it gives me the happy medium of not having to suffer through the nonfiction, right? Does any of that make sense? So The Water Dancer and The Prophets are two of my favorite books, and they're both about slavery. But they are super well written. Ta-Nehisi Coates, let me tell you something. I love that nerd. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And he is a married man, so I will keep my inappropriate thoughts to myself. But all I'm saying is, if he wasn't married, he could call me where he be writing in books and stuff. But anyway, they call themselves the Stolen. Their owners call them captives. They are taught their captors' tongue and their beliefs, but they have a language and rituals of their own. In a world that would be allegorical if it weren't saturated in harsh truths, Cato and William meet at Placid Hall, a plantation in an unspecified part of the American South, subject to the whims of their tyrannical and eccentric captor, Cannonball Green. They never know what harm may befall them. Inhumane physical toil in the plantation's quarry by day, a beating by night, or a sale of a loved one at any moment. It's the cruel practice, the wanton destruction of love, the belief that Black people aren't even capable of loving, that hurts the most. It hurts the reserved and stubborn William, who finds himself falling for Margaret, a small but mighty woman with self-possession beyond her years. And it hurts Cato, whose first love, Iris, was sold off with no forewarning. He now finds solace in his hearty band of friends, including William, who is like a brother to him, Margaret, little Xander, and Milton, a gifted artist. There is also Pandora, with thick braids and long limbs, who beauty calls to him. Their relationships begin to fray when a visiting minister with a mysterious past starts to fill their heads with ideas about independence. He tells them that with freedom comes the right to choose the small things, when to dine, when to begin and end work, as well as the big things such as whom and how to love. Do they follow the preacher and pursue the unknown, confined in a landscape marked by deceit and uncertainty? Whom can they trust? In an elegant work of monumental imagination, they will reorient how we think of the legacy of America's shameful past. Jabari Asim presents a beautiful, powerful, and elegant novel that examines intimacy, longing in the private quarters of the enslaved, while asking a vital question: what would happen if an enslaved person risked everything for love? Sounds amazing. I cannot wait to read it. Now, y'all know how I feel about thick books. Y'all know I'd be a little nervous about the thick books, but I think I can do this. I think I can do this because there are two very thick books on my list this month, but we will go with it. Is this in fact? I think so. So we have The Old Drift by Namwali Serpil. I think that's how that's pronounced. So this says, 1904, on the banks of the Zambezi River, a few miles from the majestic Victoria Falls, there is a colonial settlement called the Old Drift. In a smoky room at the hotel across the river, an old drifter named Percy M. Clark, foggy with fever, makes a mistake that entangles the fates of an Italian hotelier and an African busboy. This sets off a cycle of unwitting retribution between three Zambian families, black, white, brown, as they collide and converge over the course of the century into the present and beyond. As the generations pass, their lives, their triumphs, errors, losses, and hopes emerge through a panorama of history, fairy tale, romance, and science fiction. From a woman covered with hair and another plagued with endless tears, to forbidden love affairs and fiery political ones, to homegrown technology marvels like astronauts, micro drones, and viral vaccines, this gripping, unforgettable novel is a testament to our yearning to create and cross borders, and a meditation on the slow, grand passage of time. This sounds phenomenal. I want to be an astronaut. I think I could be an astronaut. Maybe that's what I'll be for Halloween this year. I'll be an astronaut. I think I'll be an astronaut. Okay, next we have A Long Way from Dualla by Max Loeb. Again, let's talk about the beautiful black human on this cover. Oh my gosh. So this says, after their father's sudden death, Jean's older brother, Roger, decides he's had enough of their abusive mother and their city. He runs away to try his luck, crossing illegally into Europe in the hope of becoming a soccer star abroad. When no news of him reaches the family and the police declare that finding some feckless brat isn't worth their time, Jean feels he has to act. Aiming to catch up with Roger before he gets to the Nigerian border, Jean enlists the help of the older Simon, a close neighborhood friend, and the two set out on the road. Through a series of joyful, sparky vignettes, Cameroon life is revealed in all its up and downs. Max Loeb insightfully touches on grave, complex issues such as violence Boko Haram has inflicted on the religion, yet still recounts events with remarkable humor and levity. This gives me, what's the name of that book? No Heaven for Good Boys, but like they're older and it might be funny, you know? Next, again, going back to the thick book thing and bookish bingo, this book is huge, but These Bones Are Not My Child by Toni Cade Bambara. I have never heard of this wonderful Black woman, and I thought, what better time to read this than now? And it's a fiction, but it's giving like thriller vibes. So in a suspenseful novel of uncommon depth and intensity, Toni Cade Bambara renders a harrowing portrait of a city under siege. Having elected its first Black mayor in 1980, Atlanta projected an image of political progressiveness and propriety. But between September 1979 and June 1981, more than 40 Black children were kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and brutally murdered throughout the city too busy to hate. Quote unquote. A separated mother of three, holding down several jobs, Zala Spencer has managed to survive on the margins of a flourishing economy until she awakens the morning of Sunday, July 20th, 1980, to find her teenage son, Sonny, missing. As the hours turn into days, Zala realizes that Sonny is among the many cases of missing children just beginning to attract national attention, growing increasingly disillusioned with the authorities, who responds to Sonny's disappearance with cold indifference. Zala and her estranged husband embark on a desperate search through the eyes of a family, anguish and terror. Through the eyes of a family seized by anguish and terror, we watch a city roiling with political, racial, and class tensions. Written over a span of 12 years and edited by Toni Morrison, who calls Those Bones Are Not My Child the author's magnum opus, Bambara's last novel leaves us with an enduring and revolutionary chronicle of an American nightmare. So this ties into bookish bingo because one of the prompts is to learn about a new author that you've never heard of, and this is my new author. So I'll be posting more about her later today. When you guys see this, it'll be today. It'll be February 1st. I'll be posting more about her later on today, some of the other books that she's written, so on and so forth. But that sounds good. If you guys don't know, I'm really into true crime, like really into true crime. And excuse me, I'm aware of the person that this is about. I just can't recall his name right now. But then last but certainly not least, we have Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. This is about a family recipe being passed down with some other secrets that were unknown to the family, and how it's going to bring this family together. So apparently the mother dies, and after she dies, her children come across a voice note from her, I believe, or a letter from her with some family secrets, and with a black cake recipe that is like a family recipe that is passed down, and for them to share it when the time is right. So I'm curious to see what this book is about, what the secrets are. For those that have read it already, I've heard good things about it, so I can't wait to see what this one is about. And that is my list for the month. Again, don't forget, a TBR is just for things for me to pull from. I may get through all of these, I may not get through all of these, but it keeps me structured so that I'm not standing in front of this every day or every few days trying to figure out what exactly it is that I'm going to read. Some of these may hit, some of them may miss, but this is the 10 that I'm focusing on for the month of February. Let me know in the comments what you guys plan to read for February. I totally want to know. What Black authors are you reading? Are you participating in Bookish Bingo? Let me know. With all of that said, I love you, if no one has told you today, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye, guys.